From one of the most stereotyped heroes in the entire game as perceived to being super easy and only for boosted individuals, Cloak and Dagger is now one of the strongest strategists in the entire game, especially in chaotic and slop fights. This is the fall and rise of Cloak and Dagger and Marvel Rivals. Without further ado, I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this video. Now, Cloak and Dagger was released in Marvel Rivals on December 6, 2024 as part of Season 0 or Doom's Rise. They were collectively the 32nd hero introduced into the game's roster. So why did people not like Cloak and Dagger, or made fun of Cloak and Dagger players, or whatever the case was? Well, the first one was auto-aim abilities. Many of Cloak and Dagger's abilities, particularly their heals and some damage attacks, have auto-tracking or large hitbox requiring less precision than other characters. And because of that, the perception that a majority of the community had is that most Cloak and Dagger players don't know how to aim or anything like that. So the second their Cloak and Dagger pick was taken or banned, they immediately fizzled out, played horribly, and well, you get the picture. Following that, Cloak and Dagger is easy to play. This leads to the perception that Cloak and Dagger are easy to pick up and play effectively, even for players who might struggle with more mechanically intensive characters. Although this character isn't mechanically or physically demanding, I will say there is more micro things you have to do with this character in comparison to that of Luna Snow, where Luna Snow is just raw aim, where Cloak and Dagger is all about min-maxing their abilities. Now, Cloak and Dagger players sometimes are seen as quote-unquote boosted players, because some players accuse Cloak and Dagger players of being boosted, meaning they're carried to high ranks by their character's ease of use rather than their own skill. But now comes Season 3 and things are finally changing, with chaotic slap fights being the primary terms of engagement in the game currently. Now, if you don't really understand what that means, it means like chaotic all-out brawls when you're playing the game, kind of slap fights in a way. This opened up the avenue for Cloak and Dagger, especially with the changes made in Season 3 to Cloak and Dagger's Terror Cape, which is the E ability on Cloak's form. Basically, players hit by this blinding cape get 28 or 27% vulnerability, meaning they're going to be taking a lot more damage when they're hit by this single ability. Now, you also pair that ability with how fast Cloak and Dagger's ultimate actually charges. You should be able to get your ult out pretty much every single team fight before the enemy has their own ults if they're not playing Cloak and Dagger. This means that you essentially have a tempo ult. Now, the thing that really makes Dagger super unique is her primary fire, Light Force Dagger. It's a quick projectile that bounces on terrain. Now, this ability can both heal allies or damage enemies, and has a semi-tracking feature which will cause the projectiles to hit the ally or enemy closest to the aiming reticle. And no, this is not me just talking about these abilities or anything like that, or like a guide video. This is me explaining why this character is actually pretty strong. Now, her secondary fire, Dagger Storm, launches a projectile that creates a large bubble of light on impact, providing healing for time. This is Dagger's primary tool of self-sustain. This ability can be attached to any surface, and is quite literally the way you can be saving yourself if a Black Panther is diving onto you. By either pairing a Cloak and Dagger with an Invisible Woman, or even a Loki, your backline should never die to any sort of dive. With the Dagger Storm bubble, whether it's Regeneration Domain, Loki's shift ability, or Invisible Woman's shield, again, you should never be dying to any sort of dive in this game with that backline. Now, Cloak and Dagger's Veil of Light Force is something that I think a lot of players misuse. This is on Dagger, and this is her E ability on mouse and keyboard. It's a rectangular spell field that advances in a straight line along the casting path, healing all allies caught by it. Now, this ability also provides a 15% healing boost from all sources from 4 seconds when hitting allies. Now, I think a lot of people actually misuse this ability. Now, if anything, you first want to send out your E ability, then send all of your primary attacks after, or throw out your right click, then throw out your E. Now, another thing you can do, unless they change it by the time I'm uploading this, is if you were to hit someone with the Light Force availability, one of your teammates, and they go get a health pack, they would get more healing from the health pack than normal. Again, they might have changed this by the time I'm uploading this video, so who really knows? Now, for whatever reason, people still don't understand that with Cloak and Dagger, if you swap in and out of the form, you can reload Dagger's primary attack instantly. Instead of doing the full reload animation or doing a reload cancel animation, all you have to do is swap between the two forms, and that's going to be the fastest form of reloading. It also is a good habit to continuously swap between the forms because it gives you a good understanding of when and when not to swap between the forms as well. Now, in terms of Dagger's weaknesses, I would say she's okay into dive, even though she kind of counters dive at the same exact time, mainly because she's successful to dives as she lacks any form of mobility outside of both of her ultimate and her, Cloak's dark teleportation or whatever it's called. Some other things to be aware of is that the veil of light force does not pass through walls or other terrain really, so you have to be very mindful of when and where to use this ability appropriately. Now, following that, I want to talk about Cloak's form. Now, again, like I was saying, Terror Cape is insane. It amplifies all damage taken by 28 or 27% for 3 seconds, so you can easily one-shot people inside of invisible ultimates if you use the Terror Cape, then focus fire that one individual. If you have a good coordinated team, you should be deleting enemies inside a lot of strategist ultimates in a matter of seconds. Now, Dark Teleportation. This is a slept-on ability for the entire team. So his secondary ability, Dark Teleportation, creates a large energy field around Cloak that temporarily phases him and all nearby allies, and making them invisible to enemies and immune to all damage and crowd control effects. Now, this ability can quite literally save you from a ton of different ultimates in the entire game, and not just Cloak himself, but again, the entire team. The teammates in the radius, all they have to do is not use any of their abilities, whether it's a bubble, a primary attack, a secondary attack, anything like that. Everybody will be safe from Doctor Strange ult, Mag ult, Iron Man ult, every ult in the game, Phoenix. Now, I will say that Cloak does have some pretty standout weaknesses. First, you have the Dark Force. Cloak has limited range, requiring Cloak to get mid to close range. This, combined with his low max health, can make it risky to engage directly against enemies without the rest of the team. Following that, again, in Cloak's form, you cannot heal your team, so you have to swap back the Dagger to provide defensive support. Also, Cloak is very vulnerable if Dark Teleportation is on cooldown. In addition, this ability effects only last for 2 seconds, so you have 2 seconds to decide if what you're going to do is to live or to die. Following that, the Terror Cape's blinding effect only lasts for 1.5 seconds, but that small window, you can easily delete a lot of enemies. Now, you're also seeing Cloak and Dagger played a lot more in higher elo lobbies and even in pro play, because people are finally understanding just how impactful this character can be. Again, you're picking Cloak and Dagger mainly for 2 reasons. The first reason is for tempo ult. You're getting Cloak and Dagger ult extremely fast in comparison to your counterparts like Luna's Snow, like Loki, maybe just slightly faster than Loki, but relatively the same amount of speed. And you're also picking it for the Terror Cape, which is the 28 or 27% damage vulnerability that it gives to enemies. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about Cloak and Dagger. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.